Thank you for joining us for another installment of Advancing the Common Good with United Way. I'm Amanda Burkhart, and I am the Marketing Specialist at United Way, and I'm here today with our Executive Director, Brian Johnson. We usually bring on an agency speaker to Advancing the Common Good, but today we have a few kind of United Way internal things to talk about.
Yeah.
How's it going today, Ryan?
It's great today.
It's great
How are
today.
you today?
I'm good. I'm glad.
We've been together all day.
It's true.
Yes.
It's good to be here, and we have so much exciting stuff going on all the time, and we bring on these agencies, and the agencies are groups that we fund, and we fund them through a process called allocations. And allocations might not be a word that people know about if they're not in the United Way world, but Brian, kick us off. Tell us a little bit, what is allocations?
Yes, allocations it's sort of like Christmas time at United Way. It's the most wonderful time of the year at United Way of the Lewis and Clark area. So we've gone through the annual campaign, and now we're into allocation season, which means we've raised dollars from the generosity of the community, and allocations is the process whereby teams of community-based volunteers make decisions about which agencies get funded and how those agencies get funded.
It's a pretty exciting time. It really is like Christmas for those agencies. We take the money that the community gives in and we decide where it goes. And that process is not just done by a couple of people just from United Way, is it? Tell us a little bit about being a volunteer in an allocation panel.
Yeah, thanks. This is a really important element of the allocations process, and we need you. So if you're watching out there, this is the moment. We need you, and here's how we need you. In order to conduct allocations, it takes 8 volunteer panels, 6 to 10 people on each of those panels. So that's maybe 80 community volunteers to help us complete the allocations process. And so the process unfolds like this. We gather, as we are right now, panel volunteers from across the community, different businesses that contribute, individual donors who contribute to the campaign, other interested persons in the community who care about the health of the nonprofit sector. And we organize all those volunteers that want to have a role in determining funding for local health and human service agencies. We organize them into 8 categories. And so we have a quality health services panel, we have an education services panel, we have a special youth services panel, a disability services and military support services panel, an essential care services panel, a community emergency response and senior services panel, youth mentoring services, and services to strengthen families. Whoa!
Yeah. And each of those have several agencies below them, so you can really see the broad amount of work that United Way is doing in the community.
Right. United Way of the Lewis and Clark area has 31 funded partners, and these are health and human service agencies in Broadwater, Lewis and Clark, and Jefferson counties that work in the areas of education, income, and health. So each of those panels have 5, 6 of the 31 agencies we have underneath them. And so what an allocations panel does is receive the applications that agencies prepare, review those applications, consider the strength of those agencies in the panel, and make recommendations to the United Way Board of Directors about how much funding each agency should receive. So if you've ever been asked to help with a fundraiser, I know lots of you watching have. We all get asked to help with fundraisers. I'll be back in the fall to ask for your help with a fundraiser. This is like the opposite of being asked to help with a fundraiser. I would love it if you out there watching would come to United Way and help us give the money away. How fun is that?
It is so much fun.
Yeah,
and
so
I've taken part in some of the activities, and one of the things you get to do as an allocation volunteer is you actually get to go visit the sites. You get to visit the agencies where they work, and often they'll introduce you to some clients who receive services that are connected to United Way funding. It's a really incredible experience.
Yeah, and not only do you get to visit those agencies, of course, so the panels review the written applications, those panels make an on-site visit to the agencies that are inside of their panel, and you also get a chance to ask the leaders of these organizations, executive directors and key program staff, any question you want about how their operation runs. And so for the community, it's a great time of learning and accountability, and it really is, the allocations process that we have is one of the highlights of the work United Way does, because it educates folks about what's going on in the nonprofit sector. It just really elevates the whole discussion about the good work in education, income, and health that's going on in the Tri-County region.
Well, and from the perspective of the agencies as well, I know a lot of our agencies love being a United Way funded partner because it really means something. It means that community members have come and really dug deep and looked into what they're doing. And tell us a little bit more about that.
Right. The application and the review process is extensive, and so there's really an intimate look into an organization's financial structure. There's a lot of questions asked and answered about the governance structure of the organization. Is their board of directors strong? Do they have adequate bylaws? Are they appropriately insured? These sorts of things about finance and governance, and of course, maybe the most important part, how well a particular nonprofit is meeting their mission. Is the nonprofit creating the program deliverables that change lives in our local community? That's the kind of conversation that happens in the allocations panel. And again, we can't do it without you, so we want to have you all excited now about being an allocations panel volunteer.
So we've talked a lot about being a volunteer and a little bit about the agencies. What if you're an agency out there that's working in human service, in education, income and health, in Broadwater, Jefferson, and Lewis and Clark areas? What if that fits you? Where can you go to get more information about possibly applying to be a United Way agency?
Right, so we always expect our 31 funded partners will apply again for United Way funding. That's fantastic. But as you mentioned, if people are doing good work as a nonprofit in our area, they should visit our website, unitedwaylca.org. And the application for agencies who wish to receive United Way funding is there on the website. And so it's an open application process, and it's those allocations panels, it's this allocations process that we're describing that determines which of the agencies apply to United Way get funded. Because not every organization that applies gets funded, and not every organization who has always gotten funded in the past retains funding. So it's a dynamic process that really delivers a lot of accountability to the nonprofit sector, to donors. It's a dynamic process.
I think it's important to point out a little bit too that if an agency facing a struggle in a year, that doesn't mean they just automatically lose their United Way funding. Can you talk a bit about that?
Right. United Way of the Lewis and Clark area is invested in a strong social service network in the areas of education, income, and health. And so we know, as any small business person on Main Street knows, that businesses have cycles. There's ups and downs. And so that's right. One of the gifts of United Way funding, one of the impacts that we have when donors give through United Way is the ability to help stabilize some of those rough spots for organizations that have a demonstrated track record of strong service to the community. And so that's one of the value-added parts about giving to United Way and about participating in the allocations process. If an organization is having a tough year and has 20 years of quality service to the Tri-County region, United Way is there to help stabilize and get through that rough patch so we don't lose valuable services in the community.
That's wonderful. If you were interested in volunteering, where would you go to get more information, or how would you get a hold of somebody?
Yes, we need you. So if you out there are interested in this allocations process, we want you to call the office. Give us a call at 442-4360. You can find our contact information on our website as well, unitedwaylca.org, or that phone number again, 442-4360. Just give us a call and say, hey, we heard about this allocations thing. I'm interested in being involved. How can I plug in? And we'll do our best to honor every request to be a part of that process. As you might imagine, we get a lot of requests. And so we're interested in hearing from you, though. And we just want you to know that United Way is really nothing more than an extension of your generosity. And the allocations process is a great opportunity for you to be involved in the face of human service in the Tri-County area.
People are awfully busy these days, but a lot of people do want to do some volunteering. Tell us a little bit about the time commitment for a volunteer of allocations.
Oh, sure. So that's part of the reason we have the panels. And so all of our allocations volunteers don't review all of the agencies. And so if you're an allocations volunteer, maybe you're going to spend a half hour or so getting a little bit of training. You're going to spend about an hour reviewing each of the agencies, both their written application and an on-site visit. So that might be 5 or 6 hours there, and then maybe another hour or two visiting with your panel about funding decisions. So the total expense in terms of time for you to have this fantastic opportunity of seeing what it's like inside these agencies, you're looking at 8 to 10 hours over the next 2 months.
Mostly in March and April, correct?
Yeah, mostly in March and April.
And it's also true that some of our volunteers that come work for some of our businesses that are great supporters of United Way. And sometimes an employer might let you come and do that volunteer work during your work hours. I know that happens with some of our volunteers because we have some really generous workplaces in town.
Hey, so that's great.
Ask your boss, maybe.
Spend your time here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Come and get to know the community better. And is there anything else you want to share with the world out there in Helena and
Yeah,
area?
just we need you. That's it. It's allocations time, and we need you. So please be in touch and help us make it Christmas time at United Way. We're ready to distribute the generosity you've provided.
And when it's all said and done and it's all over, we'll have all of those totals that each agency received, and that information will be available on our website. Again, it's unitedwaylca.org, or you can call us at 442-4360. Thank you so much for joining me today and
a lot of
helping
fun.
me talk about allocations.
Yep.